Tonight, Chevy gold medal spotlight is on the women's 100-meter dash held at the now famous Bird's Nest, and we'll have that for you later on in our broadcast. Right now, though, we have a few minutes to spend with Mary Carrillo, who's been our very own Marco Polo, traveling around China to discover stories from the host country.
Yes,
what have you unearthed?
Well, you know how we just watched diving and you start talking dive speak, you know, how do you feel? Oh, I'm a little shy of vertical, a little over, too much splash. I discovered acupuncture here, and I'd never done it before, but many spas in America now offer treatment in a staple of Chinese medicine, acupuncture. But not long ago, America knew very little about this practice. How having needles plunged into skin became mainstream is a story of international diplomacy, a star reporter, and one very cuddly Beijing doctor.
The first moments of one's first acupuncture session should be a little unnerving.
Wait, I don't like this position. This reminds me a bit of death.
But Dr. Li Zhan-Yuan, this teddy bear of a man, has a most gentle touch, learning from a teacher who told him it is better to try acupuncture on oneself 1,000 times before trying it on a patient even once.
It's good. Got a nice touch.
37 years ago, this very same man changed the way Chinese medicine was viewed in America. In 1971, Dr. Li placed needles at the elbows and just below the knees of New York Times senior correspondent James Reston. It all started when Reston had become engaged in a game of cat and mouse with Henry Kissinger, who was headed to China for historic but secret talks with Zhou Enlai and didn't want to be found.
When I was in India on the way to China, the White House learned that Reston was going to China.
Nixon, seriously alarmed anyone would learn of the initiative, asked Kissinger to have the Chinese mislead Reston.
Turned out the Chinese know very well what to do when Reston got to China. They told him the airplanes had broken down and put him on a train. So he was actually on a train while I was in Beijing.
By the time Reston's slow train reached Beijing, he had missed Kissinger and further was struck by appendicitis. His post-operative pain was treated by a magical procedure unknown to the then 57-year-old and most of America. When Pulitzer Prize winner Reston wrote about how good Dr. Li had made him feel, it was splashed on the front page of the New York Times, rocketing acupuncture standing in the United States. Day, love him, spelling out their devotion on homemade banners. This one reads, "Your magical hands returned my spring of youth." At Beijing's Guangren Hospital, no one seems to treat Dr. Li as any kind of rock star, but this adorable 5'3" man is one of the most influential practitioners of his craft. Because of his gentle touch and healing art, millions and millions of Americans have learned of the ancient virtues of acupuncture.
All right.
Think of that.
Do you feel better?
I do.
It worked, huh?
It worked, and here's a guy who's well past retirement age, but he's still very, very busy. And, I mean, it's such an accepted part of practice now in the States that a lot of the athletes here travel with their own acupuncturists. A lot of professional sports teams have their own acupuncturists.
You know, I think it didn't just smell like it was working. It smelled like your dorm room in the 70s, down the hall when someone was listening to the Jefferson Airplane. That's what it smelled like.
It kind of had that vibe, let me tell you.
Yeah, which might have helped in some sense. All right, thank you, Mary. After a couple of days of rest and recuperation, and perhaps even acupuncture, which is actually a regular part of Nastya Lukin's routine, the gymnasts returned to competition last night in Beijing for the first of 3 nights of event finals. Back here looking at the bird's nest in Beijing, and if you think that childhood obesity is only a problem in the United States, you are wrong. It's a huge problem here in China. In fact, a recent study showed it's increased by 156% in the past decade alone. Our chief medical editor, Dr. Nancy Snyderman's here in Beijing, and she has more on this story. It's got to be disturbing for the Chinese people.
It is disturbing, and I think it's been a surprise to a lot of people. First of all, that it was even done, this study, and also because the concern has been that obesity was a capitalism problem. You didn't see it in a country like this. And for a lot of people, this is an eye-opening fact. For some, China's booming economy has led to increased wealth and higher living standards. But as their pockets have gotten fatter, so have their children. 1 in 5 Chinese kids under the age of 7 is overweight, and nearly 10% are obese. Only the United States is fatter.
This is our problem, that the knowledge on nutrition, on balanced diet is not very popular.
Another problem is China's emphasis on academics over physical activity.
The competition is so strong, so that the parents think of the future too early.
So to help kids shed the pounds, parents are increasingly looking for outside help, including China's medical establishment, like this fat reduction hospital in Tianjin. Here they use a combination of diet, exercise, and traditional Chinese acupuncture to treat obesity. But most stay 1 to 3 months. 12-year-old Yuan has lost 12 pounds. He's from South China and has been in the hospital for 5 weeks. What's the first thing you're going to do when you get home?
To find my friends and play.
15-year-old Jeffrey, who is American, was sent to the hospital by his parents. He's only been here a little over a month, but has already seen big results.
When I first came to China, I was 330 pounds. Right now, I'm around 280 pounds, so that's a big loss for me.
If they can reach a weight that the patient is happy with, it's a success. It's not as if you can stay here for a short time and get to your target weight.
For most overweight kids, fast food is the enemy. And here in China, familiar Western chain restaurants have made a big impression.
Many children like fried foods, like Western fast food, food that's high in calories.
His mother fed him Kentucky Fried Chicken 2 times a week.
But even KFC can't take all the blame. China's one child per family policy may also be at fault.
Yes, it is one reason, because now there's only one kid. Everybody spoils this one kid. They want them to eat as much as possible.
Especially the boys. In a culture that favors males, there are more fat Chinese boys than girls. Soon, Jeffrey will head back home to the United States. He'll be much leaner, and he says, wiser about his eating habits. Lessons for the rest of your life?
Yes. It's a big turning point for me. So while China does have some unique problems causing their obesity, there is one thing, Matt, that they have in common with the United States, and that's fast food.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a second, but is there also maybe a misconception about the traditional Chinese diet? We always have said it's healthy, it's healthy. Are we rethinking that also?
Well, we have to rethink it, because as long, you and I know, having been here now a few weeks, rice is pretty low calorie, but a lot of the food, especially the meats, has a lot of oil in it. So it doesn't take much, and the Chinese have increased their portion size as we have in the
the United States, they're getting a lot of saturated fat.
And when we talked about fast food in your piece right there, you showed some very popular Western brands and outlets for fast food. Is that all the blame, or do the Chinese have their own version of fast food as well?
The Chinese are trying to catch up with some of their own chains, but the #1 fast food in this country is Kentucky Fried Chicken. Even McDonald's doesn't eclipse KFC. And the young boys that I talked to at this hospital, they were pining for their fried chicken.
So do you see the same menus here in China in terms of fast food than you see in the States, or are there other things?
A little different. You have burgers, you have pizza, but you have salads with duck, you have corn, and trying to get sort of ahead of the fast food issue. There are menus for fruit, but it may have yogurt or sour cream or mayonnaise on top of it.
Before I let you go, a lot of people back in the States probably watched that and thought, acupuncture for obesity and weight loss, does that work?
Now listen,
what do Western doctors think about that?
Well, we know that acupuncture's been used, but in the United States, you'll see people get a needle in their ear, knowing that there's a nerve in your ear that goes to your stomach. I think the weak link in this hospital system that I looked at is there's no nutritional counseling. The little boy I talked to, I said, what's your favorite food? He said, fried beef. So if there's no education for that,
the acupuncture is not going to help long term.
But I'm a big believer in acupuncture, as you know.
And I am too. Nancy, thank you very much.
There's an intriguing new study out this evening that says acupuncture treatment, even if it's not done properly, may be more effective than conventional therapy in treating lower back pain. More than 8 million Americans have used acupuncture, and as ABC's John McKenzie reports, positive thinking may have a lot to do with the results.
It is one of the oldest of medical procedures, doctors poking needles into specific areas of the body to improve blood flow and reduce pain. But even today, as acupuncture's popularity grows, no one is certain exactly how it works.
It certainly does seem to stimulate endorphins, which are the body's natural pain-killing and mood-elevating substances.
This latest study looked at 1,100 patients being treated for lower back pain. 48% of those getting Chinese acupuncture reported significant pain reduction. That's almost double the rate reported by those receiving traditional physical therapy and pain pills. But it didn't matter if doctors were even doing the acupuncture correctly. As part of the study, some patients got sham acupuncture, where needles are randomly placed without any intended benefit. Of those getting the sham procedure, 44% said they too felt much better. Today's results are likely to fuel the argument that acupuncture is nothing more than a placebo effect. That often just thinking a procedure will work is enough to make it work. And some doctors say that's just fine.
I feel that it doesn't matter whether it's a placebo effect or not. As long as we can get our patients better, the end result is all we're looking for.
It's all Carol Stonger was looking for as she received treatment this afternoon.
I'm very happy with the acupuncture that I've had so far, and I certainly think it has improved my back.
But it's not just pain. Some doctors are using acupuncture to improve fertility, treat insomnia and allergies, and reduce nausea during chemotherapy. And because the procedure is so safe, so benign, many doctors are willing to encourage it, even while the verdict is still out on how it actually works. John McKenzie, ABC News, New York.
And we have posted the latest research on acupuncture and its use in the treatment of cancer, migraines, and other conditions at our website, abcnews.com.